Sometimes life is messy. Have you ever wished you could refocus your mind, home, relationships, and work life? Join us as we use research-based information to make practical changes and simplify life. This is Life Simplified.
Welcome back to Life Simplified. All month, we've been digging into a gardening theme and talking about the different types of gardening, how to get started, the benefits of gardening, safety tips, as well as what to do with all of that produce. And today, we're going to talk about gardening with children. To get us started, let's just talk a little bit about what experience we have gardening with children.
All of my gardening experiences with children. I never had a garden growing up, and I don't really think that my husband and I had a garden pre-children, but it was something that we have done several times since because we can do it as a family. So I've only gardened with little ones with me.
So I grew up gardening with a family. Mostly I can just remember picking beans and having to break beans, and it felt like eternity trying to get all those done. So I did that, and then we've always gardened, but since my son, we've been trying to involve him a little bit more. Of course, he wasn't too old last year to be able to do a lot. He would pick some little cherry tomatoes off the vine and things like that and walk out in the garden. But so hopefully this year we'll be able to get him more involved in it and maybe learn some tips and tricks on how to do that today.
Unfortunately, my children have never had anything to do with the garden because I have not had a garden myself with them. But I did whenever I was with when I was little with my parents and that, I got to experience all of them things. And also what Amanda said of breaking them beans. That was not the favorite.
Well, what I remember about growing up with a garden, my parents have always had a garden as far as I can remember, but was the corn. Having to shuck the corn and get the silk out. And then I remember my mom cutting it so that she could freeze it. So,
Yes.
so I remember that. And then we have not had a garden since have had children in my life, but for one of the programs that I offer, occasionally we will do a garden theme. And with that theme, I will send them home an ice cream cone filled with soil, and then we planted radishes in the cone for them to take home, and then they can plant in a container or they could actually plant in the ground, whatever they want to do. So that's really been my experience with children, not necessarily my own children, but other people's children. So what about some benefits? What do you think might be some benefits of gardening with children?
I mean, I think the number one benefit is just quality time. Like, even if you produce nothing, that time together as a family, doing something, learning a skill. I mean, you hope to produce something. You hope that they get to try new things and feel excited about eating something that they've started from beginning to end. But I think it's just having that family time together.
I was thinking the benefits of being outside, away from screen time. A lot of people are trying to cut back on that and just enjoying the weather and the sunshine and just being out in the environment together. And the exercise, of course, right? Because you're gonna be out there moving around and using muscles that you all may not typically use when you're gardening.
I kind of think about far as the nutritional part of it, you know what you are putting into your body, you know that the has vitamins, minerals that are good for us, and to incorporate that with your children too. You let them know like these is, good for us to try and to eat and just incorporating that.
For sure. All of those are excellent benefits. The getting outside, being physically active, just quality time, nutritional value. The theory is hopefully if your children are part of the process of growing, then they might be more invested and might be more likely to try some type of food. They're getting excited about getting to see the process and just learning about science and nature. They can even practice some math skills. You can throw in some math skills in there, counting. Maybe you're counting seeds, maybe you're counting scoops of soil, but even just little simple things like that. And you can also build literacy skills. There's lots of different books about gardening, and we'll provide a link in the show notes from Penn State that has a list of just some books to get you started. And then you can also check out Growing Good Kids Excellent in Children's Literature Awards winners list. We will link that in the show notes as well, but that provides a list of books about gardening well. So you're building literacy skills right along with the physical activity and everything else. Also, along with the quality time, you are building social skills because you are spending time with someone else, learning to follow directions. And then I think it's just so neat to see their reaction when they actually get to see the results of their efforts, what they have done. So, when you're starting gardening with children, think about what you and your children want to gain from gardening. Are you looking for the quality time? Then it may not matter what you're planting. Just pick something that sounds like fun. Do you want them to try new foods? Maybe you're picking something that you already know that they like, and then let's pick one other thing that we all want to try. Are you looking for them to learn something specific, or do they want to learn something specific? That may factor in to what you choose to grow. And then you're also thinking about, we talked in our first episode, thinking about the space that you have. If you live in town or in a city, you may not have the space to have a traditional garden. So thinking about that, is there something you can grow in the windowsill in a container? Can you do a raised bed garden? Do you have access to the tools you would need? Do you have access to the supplies? And also think about how much you're willing to spend on this project. And then brainstorm. You don't have to go with the very first idea that you think of. Look through some gardening books, make a list of ideas. I mean, of course, I would make a list, but go back through and see what sounds like it would work and go from there.
We talked about growing foods and different things like that. And I remember last year, one way we got our son involved is for Mother's Day, we always go to a local store and we purchase flowers. So last year, we let him pick all the flowers out that we were going to put into our containers. And so that was fun for him to do, just to pick out the different things, see the different colors. I think that was really educational. And then that really got him involved in watering. So you can purchase these small little like watering pails for kids. And so that was our thing. Every time we went outside, we had to water them. And so that was just a way, even if it was flowers, to get out and be active in the gardening aspect of it.
We had an episode on safety considerations, so I do want you to head back and listen to that. But I did want to highlight just a couple of extra special considerations for when you're gardening with children. Be sure that you know which plants are safe for children. Pay attention to what is in the potting soil. You may even seek out advice on the best type to use when you're gardening with young children. You want to keep your seeds away from children under the age of 3. And then, of course, always supervise your children when you're gardening, when they're working with tools, when they're around water, when they're out in the garden. You want to stick with them and make sure that you're paying attention to them. What kinds of things can children do in the garden?
They can water the plants.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And they love it.
My youngest likes all of the steps of gardening. I think he is probably my most avid gardener of my 3 children. But we typically will plant from seed, not from an already established plant. So he loves that. He loves being able to like help actually plant the seed, cover it up, water it the first time. And then also he has like little stakes he'll put in there so he can keep track of what he has where, and he likes to go check on it. So, just he kind of likes it from start to finish, but he wants to especially make sure he gets to be the one to get that seed in the ground. He wants to know where it is and that he was a part of that.
And was it last year he was so proud of his watermelon?
Yes, watermelon was his big thing. Like, he didn't care what we grew as long as there was watermelon. And so we did do that, and we weren't sure that would turn out, but it did. And he was super excited. He had several really nice sized watermelons, and we got to eat those. And I think I have a picture of him being really proud of his watermelon. He gave some to, grandparents and aunts and uncles. So he was able to share in that as well.
Children can also help gather supplies. Children love to dig. Well, I won't say all children. Some do not like to get their hands dirty. So, but digging, scooping the dirt, watering the plants, we talked about that, counting out the seeds. There is a really cool publication on Rutgers, and we'll link that in the show notes as well, that breaks down some different ideas of things that children can do by age. So if you're curious, then check that out. But we'll just go through a couple of those. And if you want to learn more information, you can check that out in the show notes. But toddlers, letting them touch those leaves, especially those fuzzy ones, they like to, that sensory aspect. They can pick flowers, they can pick beans, they can hold those earthworms. Maybe might be able to get them to do that. But remember, if you're scared of the earthworm, they may be likely to be scared of it too. So
Guilty. I don't want the earthworm.
I don't mind them too much, but
I don't do things that crawl on their bellies. No, thank you.
In preschool, they can water plants, dig, fill those seed trays. In elementary, maybe they're really starting to learn how to grow a specific fruit or a specific vegetable, raking those leaves. And then, just bonus points if then you can jump in leaves. That's just fun. And then they can actually grow their own seedlings with supervision, of course. And then in the preteen stage, maybe they're ready to help design that garden and arrange the flowers, pick out where things are going to go. And then teens, maybe they're ready for a landscape project. Maybe they're ready for lawn care. So lots of different things for different ages. And always keep in mind that you know your child. And just because it says that a toddler should do this doesn't necessarily mean that your toddler is going to want to do that. So just, your child, their abilities. So just keep that in mind. And then I also just wanted to mention a few fun gardening related projects. So maybe you're thinking, I don't have the time, I don't have the space to do a full-fledged garden or even a container. And that's a-okay. We all do what we can do. But just a couple of ideas, things that you could do maybe in just a day project. Make a rain gauge. And we'll link in the show notes some instructions for that. But that could be something fun. An indoor herb garden, a succulent arrangement, like that's my kind. I can probably handle some succulents.
Fun fact, I have killed 3 succulents.
Okay, maybe not then.
And they were, my coworkers loved them. And they were like, you can't kill this. And I was like, oh,
but I can.
But I can. Someone else, maybe not. Me, yes. So sorry. This is the level of not green thumb I have.
Maybe you just need a cactus.
Yeah. So here's my problem. If you tell me something doesn't need water, like I'm taking you at your word, and it's going to dehydrate. Because I'm gonna be like, if I water it, it'll be overwatered. And then I don't remember when it ever had water in its life, and it no longer has life. So that's my problem.
And that's okay.
It's just, I feel mean to the plants, and it feels wrong.
Well,
So-
you know your limitations. That's a plus. And then kind of along the same line, a terrarium, which is just a mini garden grown in a covered glass or plastic container. And my child, I did forget about this. My child has done one of those, and she keeps one in her room. So she does enjoy that.
Can you
And-
enter that kind of stuff into the county fairs, your kids?
I bet so.
I think for the
so.
4-H
Yeah.
programs, they have some of that. So that could be something you could do together, and then they could enter it into the county fair.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Any other ideas?
So it's funny, the timing on this, because my youngest is in second grade. And I think they've been learning in school the different parts of a plant and how they grow and all those things. And so they planted a bean seed to see how that would sprout and take a look at it. And each of them did it. And I'm not sure what they were in at school, but when he came home with his, it was in a Ziploc baggie and literally like one of those brown paper napkins, wet. It wasn't even any soil. So I don't know if it was started in soil in the classroom or not, but this is just what he brought home. And he was so upset because his bean was not very big. I mean, you could tell that's what it was, but it hadn't grown a lot. And he was like, my friends are so much bigger. We measured them and mine's like nothing. And there's just whatever. And I was like, well, it's okay. We forgot about this thing. It was in my car in this Ziploc bag. And he pulled it out this morning and it's huge. This thing has grown better in my vehicle in the Ziploc bag. And he's like, I need to plant it now, which I was like, not today, because we had a frost last night. And I was like, maybe give it a few days, let it warm back up. But it's funny because he was so bummed about his bean seed not really growing. And then I didn't try to take care of it and success. So now that we're going to actually plant it, it probably won't survive. But it did great in the car in the Ziploc baggie with the wet paper towel. So there's a project. You can at least see how it goes.
I like it. What a great idea. And then he'll be the one who takes care of it. So you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
Maybe just some reminders.
He's better at it than I am. He's got his daddy's love of all things nature. Actually, it's funny because someone said to him this weekend, and I don't even know what it was in reference to, but they said the word agriculture. And he was like, what does that mean? I was trying to explain to him, like, that's like the whole umbrella term for growing things and animals and feeding, your nation or whatever. And he was like, so I'm an agriculture. And I was like, you're a part of agriculture. And he's like, so I'm like, you want to be a farmer. That's a part of agriculture. And he's like, so I'm agriculture. And I'm like, whatever. Yes, you are agriculture. So in case you need to know, my youngest is in fact agriculture.
I like it. He keeps us entertained.
He does. Never a dull moment.
Well, I hope you are inspired to do some type of gardening or gardening related project with your children, and we would love to hear about it. If you do so, feel free to tag us on social media. Feel free to send us an email at lifesimplifiedpodcast@gmail.com. Comment on our social media posts. If you see us out in public, tell us then, or we would love to hear how you're using this information. This is Life Simplified.
Thanks for listening to Life Simplified. We are family and consumer sciences agents with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service. Contact us at lifesimplifiedpodcast@gmail.com.